Hello and welcome to the Financial Truth with Carla Cargle, the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club's March 2018 edition. Today we are featuring the world-renowned lecturer, author, and expert on prosperity and abundance, John Randolph Price, and his book, The Abundance Book. John is now deceased. However, it was my pleasure, my honor, and privilege to have interviewed him on several occasions regarding actually the book we're featuring today. So I am not just coming from a perspective of having read the book on numerous times myself, but I am also coming from the viewpoint and understanding of actually having spoken and discussed the book in detail with John. So I am excited, I am privileged, and I am honored to be able to share with you this evening the Abundance Book. Now, I hope all of our members of the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club, I hope you purchased the book, you have read the book, and you have allowed yourself to become in communion, with the book, because I just want to say that the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club, our intent here is really to encourage and recommend information, books, and share knowledge that truly will empower and liberate you to live a life of true wealth, prosperity, and abundance. So not only do I want you to share with us during our book club meetings and our book club presentations, but it is truly imperative that you actually get the book, read the book, and allow yourself to truly understand the message and incorporate that message into your daily lives, because that is truly how our consciousness as individuals and the universe's consciousness will be raised, where we all can experience wealth, prosperity, and abundance. Now, I would just like to begin by saying that John Randolph Price, again, I had the honor of talking with him on numerous occasions. He is, I still will say he is, even though he's passed away. His spirit, he is a delightful, he was gracious, he was very knowledgeable and insightful. And he really and truly was a man who not only spoke about wealth, prosperity, and abundance, but he truly allowed himself to be an example and live the life that he was teaching in his books. So I would like to begin by saying that John Randolph Price, and for many of you, just so you know, for many of you, you have probably heard of the Abundance Book. However, oftentimes it is referred to as the 40-day prosperity plan. So if you have not actually heard of the Abundance Book, many of you have heard of or even studied the 40-day prosperity plan, which is actually encompassed in the Abundance Book. Let me show you the cover again, The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. And John simply says this, that the purpose of this book is to provide you with an easy-to-read collection of prosperity ideas for quick study and reference. And as you can see, it's a small book. It's not hundreds and hundreds of pages. He condensed it and went straight to the point, and he did actually make it simple. So again, I encourage you, if you have not read the book yet, that you still purchase the book, read the book, and incorporate the book, especially the 40-day prosperity plan, into your daily life and your routine. So in moving forward in talking about abundance, the 40-day prosperity plan, and John defines abundance as this. Abundance, as mentioned in this book, is defined as an all-sufficiency of supply, a full measure of infinite good. In the invisible, it is the creative energy of God, also called substance. In the visible world, it is that energy made manifest as money and every other good thing required for a free and harmonious life in this third dimensional world. Now that might be a lot to grasp, and actually it is. You have to have and allow yourself to go deep in thought and understanding to begin truly the transformation that enables you to have the level of consciousness that is one of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. And if I could just say that again, it is that energy, abundance is that energy made manifest as money and every other good thing required for a free and harmonious life. So basically, I believe what John is saying is that when we allow ourselves to truly become one with the energy of good, the energy of God. And again, I have mentioned it from the beginning of our Wealth and Prosperity Book Club that the book club is coming from a spiritual awareness and a spiritual perspective. So please keep in mind that you should always expect to hear and receive references with the books and with my presentations that are aligned with God and the truth of God and the message of God. So again, the energy made manifest as money. Now, what I would like to really mention here is that John defines money, and he has really given money itself. You know, what we need to understand is that money, again, and as I've said through all of our book club meetings, money is not evil. Money itself is just a medium of exchange. It's something that we have been given to enable us to truly allow ourselves to operate on a level playing field. It enables us to barter. You know, centuries ago, before we actually had currency, people would barter with their livestock. They would barter with their crops. They would barter with whatever type of service that they could barter with. And so as time progressed over the centuries, money, currency was created, cash, coins, etc. However, what we need to understand is that just like this book is just something that I'm holding in my hand, and unless I have read the book, I really would not be able to understand the book. And so that's really the same kind of with money. Money is just, it is tangible because of course you can touch it, but it's in a medium of exchange that until we attach our energy to it, our thought process, our consciousness to it, does it become whatever it's going to become. If it's good, if it's evil, if it's prosperous, if it's making a positive difference, if it's adding quality and value and enhanced lifestyle, whatever that is, becomes once we attach our energy to it. So John Randolph Price in his book, The Abundance Book, defines money as this. Money is, and he uses this as an acronym, my own natural energy yield. The word or the letter M, he changes to my. The letter O in the word money, he calls own. N, natural. E, energy. And Y, yield. So again, he defines money again as, write it down. Hopefully you have a book, so it should be already a part of what you understand. But again, write it down, my own natural energy yield. So let's kind of break that down a little. Of course, we already know what my means. That means yours. How you interpret it, how you have attached your being to it. As I said, your state of consciousness. Own, of course, how you have ownership with it. Natural, it's kind of a natural process. In other words, hopefully the natural process that is attached or that is with the energy that your money brings is a good presence. So how you are as a person, your thoughts, the way in which you engage and relate, that in itself creates that natural energy yield. So of course, in that respect, we know energy means kind of the substance or the presence of how things are working in your life. And then yield simply in this case means return. So if you are in a state and if your energy yield, your own natural energy yield, or should I say, of course, my own natural energy yield, as I operate in a state of consciousness that, of course, embraces money as good, believes money is good, expects and understands the flow of money, the flow of prosperity, the flow of God's goodness, then the state of money in my life should be at a state that is good, a state that brings the natural flow. It's not something that I have to struggle with. It's not a negative energy or negative presence that's hovering around my ability to generate or have money, because there's a presence, the energy that I have in my thought process, in my actions, in my deeds, believes that money is good. So with that said, then the flow of money in my life should be operating in a state of goodness. Now, I guess you're probably saying, what in the world are you talking about? But I want you to think about it now, because oftentimes what happens is, and I kind of touched upon this in the first Prosperity Book Club when we talked about The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. You kind of have two spectrums that are considered to be the spectrums of in the money world that are negative per se, and those would be poverty, which of course most perceive that as a negative state, and I guess primarily to some extent it could be said to be. Then of course you have greed. And both of those states, however, come from an energy within that person who is operating or has that energy yield, is from a it's not a good state. It's darkness that hovers around there. There's a mindset of lack. There's a an area of constant need for more or not enough. So there's not a natural good flow that's occurring. And so in those instances, if that's someone's natural energy yield, one of poverty or one of greed, then there's going to be that presence of chaos and that presence of instability that directly and or indirectly is in that person's life. So again, I just want you to, I am interpreting the book as best as I have perceived it, and again based on my actual conversations that I've had with the author John Randolph Price prior to his passing. Again, I have spoke with him on numerous occasions regarding his book and his works. Then I encourage you to allow yourself to just think about that for yourself. I don't necessarily, you don't necessarily, I should say, have to say, well, Carla, this is the end all. You can allow yourself to go in deep thought and gain understanding of what that means to you. And again, John Randolph Price's definition of money, and again, if you have not written it down, is my own, OWN, natural energy yield. So how you return your energy is basically going to show up in the level of money, the level of wealth and prosperity that exists in your life. Or you should, or could anticipate to come forth in your life. It's a process, of course. It's a process. Also, let's talk about, and again, I am wanting to really get to the true meat of the book. In this book is the 40-day prosperity plan. I think really that part of his book, that plan that John created, probably is one of his greatest works, and one of the works that he is best known for, because people all over the world have practiced the plan. They have incorporated it in their lives. So it's something that I want to get to, and actually we're going to incorporate that plan into the book club for the next 10 days, because, and I'll explain to you what the 40-day really represents shortly. But before I do want to share a few prosperity secrets that John lifts up in the book. And again, a lot of this, as you will find as we go and talk about other books in the future, and if you consider the books that we have discussed already, again, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder, and the compilation book, How to Be Rich. A lot of this, again, is just going to kind of be repetitive, because ultimately it's not like it's something new that they have all created. It's just that they have elevated their minds and their lives in order to be people that can convey and share and teach and empower us with the message. So the first prosperity secret that John mentions that John mentions in the Abundance book is, do not tell anyone that's not on the spiritual path that you are working on prosperity from a spiritual mental approach. In other words, as I've said before, shh, don't tell anybody. You want to make sure that you understand that the path that you are on is your path. And you're not in need of co-signers. You're not in need of cheerleaders. You're not in need of a whole slew of people to say, you go girl, you go boy, get it done. Because ultimately what you need to understand is that some things in life are for us to be able to actually become in tune and in touch with, for ourselves to be lifted up and lift up ourselves, because it's ultimately a mind situation. So oftentimes it's important that you not allow your desires or your plan of prosperity to be something that's a group effort. It should be an individual effort. And if you are blessed to have maybe a small, very, very small group of associates, colleagues, friends, family that truly are on that path too, then maybe you might want to share it with one or two of them. But it's not something that you want to advertise that you are on the plan of prosperity. So again, do not tell anyone, especially those that are not on the spiritual path, of your work and your desire and your plan for wealth and prosperity. Number 2, understand that you are not trying to make anything happen. You are simply releasing the abundance that is already a part of your true nature. Eliminate all pressure and intensity. Let the substance flow into visibility and experience. Easy does it. In other words, trust God, trust the flow. Just go with the flow. Because if we really and truly understand the true nature of God's purpose, of God's goodness, of the flow of the universe, the flow of abundance, wealth, and prosperity, then we will understand that it's for us. It's God's intent for us. God's plans for us are good. Always good. So we don't need to really fight against it or put our 2 cents in and do any of that. Of course, you want to equip yourself in knowledge and in understanding so that you can be alignment and understanding with the flow. But it's not necessary for us to do something specifically to make the flow happen, because the flow has already been released. It's for us to trust it and believe that it is so. Okay, now there are several steps here. I won't go through each one because, again, I want to really emphasize the 40-day prosperity plan. But what I do want to say is this one I think is great, because I actually kind of had to change some thoughts and ways for myself years ago when I first read the book, because it makes so much sense. Because oftentimes, and let me read it first, it says, do not delay your demonstration by holding in mind the idea of receiving your good tomorrow. God works in the now. Now is the accepted time. If you live in the future, your prosperity will always be one day ahead of you. Let me say that again. If you live in the future, your prosperity will always be one day ahead of you. What does that mean? That simply means if you're constantly saying, well, tomorrow when it happens, or I expect increase tomorrow, I expect increase next year, I expect wealth and prosperity to manifest in 6 months. Whatever that is that we know that we say, that is not a result of the now. We need to really shift the way that we speak and the way that we think to understand that it is here and it's now. Right here, right now, in the moment. It's not something that we should keep expecting to happen in the next day, the next year, the next week. But let ourselves be engaged to understand that whatever it is that we seek in the good, in wealth, in prosperity, in life, that is in bettering us and enriching us and bringing forth goodness, not just for ourselves, but our families, our friends, our community, the world. We should expect it and speak of it right here and in the now. That it was critical thinking for me to change. And once I was able to start making those changes in my own life, I can assure you that I began living in a much sounder, peaceful, prosperous state of being and consciousness for myself. Finally, what I want to think about, or not think about, I apologize, but what I want to state, it's number 12. Again, these are John Randolph's Price's Prosperity Secrets that he has written about in the Abundance book. And number 12 in his secrets are keep your money circulating. If you hoard it for a rainy day, you may have to spend it on an ark. Oh my goodness gracious. If you hoard it for a rainy day, you might have to spend it on an ark. Now let me just say this. I am in the financial business. I am a financial advisor. I've been doing it for 26 years. But this is not about that right now. But what I will say is that, of course, it is important that we save for the now and for the future. If you save for the future, you can live when the now comes, of course. But what I believe John is saying here is that you just don't want to hoard what you have and then not allow yourself to have growth in what you are acquiring. So I guess that means that if you get all of what you have, let's say, for example, someone receives $100,000. And so at that point, rather than investing, saving, or allowing yourself to, if you have debt or whatever the case may be, but allowing you to utilize the $100,000 that has come into your life as a source to improve your life, enhance your life, create balance and prosperity in your life. But rather you take that $100,000 and you just sit on it, meaning you bury it in the backyard, you put it under your mattress, you put it in a shoebox, and it's not serving any value to you. It's just kind of just sitting there. It's not gaining interest. It's not making a positive difference. It's just being, you're just holding it just so you can say that you have it. And then there's a certain part of that represents a lack of faith. One of the greatest aspects of the whole prosperity plan and 40 days prosperity plan and abundant living is operating in the level of faith. Because if you trust the flow, then you will always trust and believe that there's always more. You understand? There's always more. God did not create a limited supply. The supply is infinite with no limits. So if you get to a point where you say, okay, well, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, if I don't spend this, then I want to make sure that come tomorrow or in the future, I'll have what I need. It's for us to trust the flow. Now, let me just operate with some clarity, because I want it to be clear that we understand that I'm not saying that you should not save or acquire or have a wealth accumulation plan or wealth building plan that provides you with savings and investments and real estate portfolios and whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that. What I am saying again is that you want to make sure that you're operating with wisdom so that you are continuing to keep the flow going in your life. So if you receive, and when you receive, you don't act like you're never going to receive again. So it's making sure that you just allow the flow to operate naturally, and for whatever you have in that day, in that moment, in that now, then you utilize it in a wise plan that will enable you to make sure that your lifestyle and that here and now is being fulfilled. So if that means making sure that your mortgage is paid or your rent is paid and all your utilities are paid, and that you're putting a certain amount in savings, and that all other aspects of your life, your health care, your food, your social life, and your giving, of course. Absolutely, giving is essential to wealth and prosperity. So basically, it's just understanding that you operate with wisdom and utilize everything in the best interest of the here and now, and always know that there is more to come in the flow. There are no limits in the flow of abundance, in the flow of wealth, prosperity, in the flow of money. There are no limits. Also, now let's get to the 40-day prosperity plan, because that is truly one of the things that I want to make sure that we start incorporating in our daily lives. And I actually asked John when I interviewed him, I said, John, why is it a 40-day prosperity plan? Why isn't it 30 days, 100 days? And his answer was so simplistic. I thought, oh, is that all? But basically what John's response was, is that it's simply a 40-day prosperity plan because studies show that people's behavior generally changes after they have incorporated a specific habit or change in their life for a consistent 40 days. So if a person allows themselves to adopt a new habit, adopt a new way of thinking, and they consistently incorporate it and practice it for 40 days, then studies show, behavioral scientists show, that the 40 days is the number of days that it generally takes for that habit to truly become a part of someone's daily life. So that said, John has written, or he developed the 40-day prosperity plan. And it's simply 10 principles, 10, that you practice. Day 1, principle 2, Day 1, principle 1, day 2, principle 2, until you get to the 10th day, you practice principle 10, and then you repeat. On day 11, you repeat principle 1, so that means that every 10 days, you repeat and incorporate each specific principle into your daily life until you've done it for 40 days. And so whatever those principles are should become a thought of your process, your way of thinking, your energy, your consciousness. And many people start the 40-day prosperity plan and they continue it forever. So, you know, some people do, some people don't. But me, myself, I have read the book numerous times. And for some of those times, I've followed the 40-day prosperity plan for, it could be 100 days or 200 days. And it's not so much after a certain point that you are still doing the 40-day prosperity plan because it's not working. It's not that. It's that it is so empowering in your thought process and in your daily intentions and the way in which you live your life, that is almost something that you want to really continue to do because it is so uplifting and transformational for your life. So today I will introduce the first principle of the 40-day prosperity plan. And then for the next 9 days, which would complete the 10, I will introduce a new principle in the 40-day prosperity plan. And then at that point, you can, of course, revisit day 1, day 2, and allow yourself to incorporate it in your life. But again, the best way to do that is to get your copy of the Abundance book by John Randolph Price, and you can touch the book, you can write in the book, you can meditate with the book, and allow the book to be a transformational source in your life. So the statements of principle 1 of the 40-day prosperity plan. Principle 1 of the 40-day prosperity plan. And that principle is this: God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. I'm going to say that again. Statement principle number 1 of the 40-day prosperity plan. God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. The presence of God, the unlimited wealth of God, wisdom of God, creativity of God, genius of God, goodness of God, light of God, love of God, and I could go on. Lives, dwells, resides, and presides in me and through me. So whatever your heart's desire is, that you believe and trust God to bring forth for you in wealth and prosperity and abundance and whatever those areas are, God's presence and power is in you and it's already operating for you. So that unfailing, never-ending presence of God is already in you. Therefore, whatever it is that you are trusting and believing and thinking that God will do, it is already done. You have to release it, believe it, and let yourself understand that it is so in you. It's operating in you. It dwells in you. The reality is in you. So the unfailing, never-ending, omnipresent power of God that we seek in all areas of our life is individualized and dwells in you. It dwells in me. So we begin the 40-day prosperity plan by understanding that the prosperity is already in us. We have to allow God to work through us and with us, and it is truly so. I am Carla Cargle of the Financial Truth with Carla Cargle. This is the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club's March 2018 edition, the Abundance Book by John Randolph Price, featuring the 40-day prosperity plan. Stay tuned tomorrow for principle number 2 of the 40-day prosperity plan. I encourage you to share your thoughts, your questions, create discussion on our Facebook page of the Wealth and Prosperity Book Club and or the Financial Truth with Carla Cargle. We appreciate you. God bless you. And wealth is for all.